And so after the three of you get out of your respective vehicles, what happened next?
Karen brings us to the back of the car and says, "Look, see, I have a cracked taillight."
Can you spot a lie? Do you remember Pinocchio's paradox? If he lies intentionally, his nose will grow. But if he makes a false prediction, well, technically, his nose won't grow. There is a rhyme that illustrates yet another way of lying. You may remember it. It goes something like this. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Your tongue is as long as a telephone wire. The saying means that there is a difference between telling a lie and stretching the truth. We are going to compare two witnesses answer the same question from Karen Reed's trial. She is the woman who is accused of killing her boyfriend John O'Keefe by running him over and leaving him to die outside in the freezing cold. Karen Reed's boyfriend, John O'Keefe, had failed to return home after they were on a night out. She had called Jen McCabe and Carrie Roberts to look for her boyfriend, who, they didn't know where he was. Let's watch a segment of Jen McCabe giving testimony when the Commonwealth prosecutor asked Jen McCabe what happened when they had first arrived at John O'Keefe's house to look for him. So we're going to listen to that, and then I'll come back to you.
And so after the three of you get out of your respective vehicles, what happened next?
Karen brings us to the back of the car and says, "Look, see, I have a cracked taillight."
And where on the vehicle was she directing yourself and Miss Roberts' attention to?
The back right.
So the passenger side, rear part of the vehicle?
Yes.
And when you looked at that area of the vehicle, what could you see at that point?
I saw that there were missing pieces, but there was also snow covering it. And Karen was screaming, "Look, look," and then Kerry was screaming back at her. It was very chaotic. So I didn't stare in depth, but what I can tell you is I saw missing pieces from the taillight.
And then at some point, about how long a period of time is this that you're out in Mr. O'Keefe's driveway looking at the cracked taillight?
Not long, because then Kerry's, yelling at her, telling her she's crazy and that she was driving around drunk and she could have hit anything, and kind of rushes us to go into the house to look in there for John.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would ask if I could publish on the screen what's been marked as Exhibit Number 2.
Okay, I've stopped it right there because the prosecutor for the Commonwealth will be playing a ring cam of the three women arriving at Officer John O'Keefe's house. Remember, he is Karen Reed's boyfriend at the time. But let's talk about what we just heard Jen McCabe say. Rewind if you need to, but basically she says, as soon as they arrived to John O'Keefe's house, they got out of the car, had a whole conversation with Karen Reed being hysterical about the broken taillight, and Karen Reed showed them the taillight as soon as they got there, right? And we heard that Carrie Roberts, rushed them to go into the house. There's not much that we can misinterpret, is there? As she is very clear. So we can analyze and look for deception. I'm going to play you a short clip of Paul Ekman discussing signs of lying. And so that you know who Paul Ekman is, he is an American psychologist and he has written many books. Some you may have heard of, like Telling Lies, Clues to Deceit in the Marketplace, Politics and Marriage. And if you still don't recognize who Paul Ekman is, you may have seen a series called Lie to Me, a Fox TV show with 3 seasons. In the description it reads that the series is loosely based on Dr. Paul Ekman's work in the field of micro-expressions. While the show is rooted in actual science, it is exaggerated for drama that uses body language for crime solving. So let's watch the signs to look out for.
We have observed some fragment of the shrug, a slight rotation of one hand or slight raising of just one shoulder when people are lying. It typically directly contradicts the confidence, certainty, or affirmation that occurs in the accompanying words. As with other signs of lying we have discovered, its absence means nothing. Its presence is revealing.
Dr. Ekman also tells us about looking for signs that just don't fit in with what's being said from a person's baseline. So, touching the face when they're thinking about answering, shaking the head no when they're answering in the affirmative. Word distancing. So, are they saying the defendant and other times saying Karen? That would be, distancing themselves when they use the word defendant. And rapid eye blinking. So, if you're interested in the research of Dr. Ekman, Paul Ekman, then he does many videos that you can watch for free, and I think that's great news. So now that you have some signs of what to look for, I will play the clip again, but I've backed it up just a bit so that you can get the full picture. See if you can see any signs of lying.
At some point, does the defendant get on the phone with you?
She does.
And what, if any, conversation do you have with her at that?
She proceeds to scream my name multiple times, and she tells me that John didn't come home, they got into a fight, and that she left him at the waterfall.
And how do you respond?
I had just woken up. I was confused. I didn't know what she was talking about. I was like, what are you talking about? And then she, told me that they had gotten into a fight and she left him there, and now where is he? And she was just kept screaming my name over and over. And so then I remembered that Chris Albert had still been at the bar. So I thought, well, maybe John walked home with Chris, because Chris lives close to the waterfall.
And so at some point that conversation ended, and you recall how that ended?
I told her that I was going to call Julie and see if John had ended up with Chris.
And so you hang up with her, and then what did you do then?
I called Julie Albert.
And did Julie pick up the phone?
She did not.
And as you were calling Julie, did you have any conversation with your husband, Matt, around that time?
Yes. He, had kind of shot up out of bed when Karen had called. When Kaylee had called, because Karen was screaming. And then he was, what's going on? And I said, well, I'm calling Julie because Karen, they got into a fight, and I was trying to explain it to him. And he said, what are you talking about? We saw them outside of your sister's house. And at that point, I hung up.
And when you hung up, Julie had not answered yet, is that correct?
Correct.
At some point, you make your way downstairs, is that right?
Correct.
And then what, if anything, did you hear once you were downstairs?
Screaming.
And where was the screaming coming from?
Out front.
And when you heard that screaming, where did you go?
I ran to my front door.
At some point, did you open your front door?
I opened my front door, correct.
And then what did you see when you opened the front door?
Miss Reed came running up my walkway.
When you get into the defendant's vehicle, she pulled in straight into your driveway, is that correct?
Yes,
So fair to say you had to back out of the driveway, correct?
correct.
Now, when you were operating Miss Reed's vehicle in reverse, what, if anything, showed up in sort of the center console area of that vehicle?
I do not remember. I don't know.
Do you recall anything as far as a camera or anything like that?
I don't remember. I don't remember.
You backed the vehicle out of the driveway, and you proceed to Meadows Ave, correct?
Yes,
And about how long a drive is it from your house to Mr. O'Keefe's?
approximately 5-6 minutes.
And when you get to Mr. O'Keefe's house, where do you park?
I pull in straight in the driveway.
And after you pull into the driveway, at some point you all get out, correct?
Yes,
Do you recall who pulled in first as far as who was in front of who on the way to Meadows, yourself or Miss Roberts?
I believe I was in front.
You would have pulled into the driveway and parked, and Miss Roberts would have pulled in and parked behind you, correct?
Yes.
And so after the three of you get out of your respective vehicles, what happened then?
Karen brings us to the back of the car and says, look, see, I have a cracked taillight.
And where on the vehicle was she directing yourself and Miss Roberts' attention to?
The back right.
So the passenger side, rear part of the vehicle.
Yes.
And when you looked at that area of the vehicle, what could you see at that point?
I saw that there were missing pieces, but there was also snow covering it. And Karen was screaming, look, look, and then Kerry was screaming back at her. It was very chaotic, so I didn't stare in depth, but what I can tell you is I saw missing pieces from the taillight.
And at some point, about how long a period of time is this that you're out in Mr. O'Keefe's driveway looking at the cracked taillight?
Not long, because then Kerry's, yelling at her, telling her she's crazy and that she was driving around drunk and she could have hit anything, and kind of rushes us to go into the house to look in there for John.
Court's permission, I would ask to publish just a short portion of, actually, I'm sorry. If I could publish a portion of what's been marked as Exhibit 6, which is the ring camera from the driveway.
Okay.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have video number 154 from the driveway. Ms. McCabe, directing your attention up to the screen, what's been marked as Exhibit 6 or video from Exhibit 6. Do you recognize what's depicted in this video?
I do.
What do you recognize?
That's myself getting out of the car at Meadows Ave.
Is that essentially where you parked Ms. Reed's vehicle when you pulled in?
Yes.
If you could, just direct the jury's attention with the laser pointer as to where Ms. Reed's vehicle is that you parked and if you see Ms. Roberts' vehicle.
That is Miss Reed's, and that would be Miss Roberts.
And as far as the right garage door that you entered into the house, if you could direct the jury's attention to whereabouts that would, I know it's not on the video, but where would it be with respect to this image?
Walk straight.
Someone, if you could run this in its entirety.
Did you catch it? Am I missing something? They didn't have a conversation. They didn't even look at the taillight when they arrived. They went straight into the house. I didn't even see Carrie Roberts talk to them, rushing them. I didn't see any of that. What's going on? What have I missed? Do you guys see the same thing? So, what's going on? Is she stretching the truth? And why would she do this? Now I want you to hear Carrie Roberts' testimony in contrast to Jan McCabe's testimony. Carrie Roberts also arrived at John O'Keefe's house at the same time as Karen Reed and Jen McCabe. So she was asked the same questions by the Commonwealth prosecutor, but see if you can catch what Carrie Roberts let slip. Let's take a look.
Observations, and you're overhearing that conversation, or you're having that conversation with Bluetooth. Where did the three of you go?
We went to Meadows, to John's house.
And how was it that each of you sort of got from Ms. McCabe's house to John's house on Meadows?
Jen drove Karen's car, and I followed behind in my car.
And when you arrived there, where did where did you go? Where did you park? Like,
I pulled in, I think I pulled in right behind. She pulled her car sort of in front of the garage bays, and I pulled in the driveway behind her.
and when you say she, do you know who was driving?
Jen McCabe, sorry.
Now, Your Honor, with the court's permission, if I could, I'd like to publish a portion of Exhibit 6, ring video.
Okay.
Gentlemen, if I could have from the driveway video number 154. I'm going to ask you to just pause after this. So, Ms. Roberts, do you recognize what's up on the screen?
Yes, that's Karen's car and my car, and John's is in the background.
Now, in front of you on the desk, there should be a laser point. It's not just. Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, pressing on that button and pointing sort of at the screen, if I could ask you just direct the jury's attention to where you see Ms. Reed's vehicle, where you see your vehicle, and where you see Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle as well.
That is John's car. That is Karen's car. That is my car.
Is this a fair and accurate portrayal of sort of where the cars were and what things looked like when you first arrived at Mr. O'Keefe's house, coming from Ms. McCabe's house?
Yes.
Ms. Gilman, if you could. Positive. Now, with reference to any individuals that you observed in this video, again, using the laser pointer, you could draw the jury's attention to who you observed and where they are.
That is Jen McCabe, and that is Karen Reed, and that's me.
And at some point, you enter in through the garage, is that right?
Correct.
Now, as far as the garage doors were concerned, when you came back that morning, what, if anything, did you notice about the garage?
The right garage door wouldn't close.
Now, Ms. Roberts, with reference to the Ring video security system that Mr. O'Keefe had at his home, if you know, do you know who had access to that?
I do not.
You obviously, you know whether or not Mr. O'Keefe had access to that?
He did, yes.
Okay, do you know how or what device he used in order to access it?
I only know he had it on his phone
How do you know he had it on his phone?
because he would check it all the time to see if the kids were home or dropped off or,
That's something you did in your presence?
yes.
Now, with regard to, at some point when you get to the home, beyond the sort of initial observations you made in Ms. McCabe's driveway with regard to the right rear passenger taillight of Ms. Reed's vehicle, what, if any, other observations did you make, or what, if anything else, did you do with reference to that area of the vehicle?
Karen did point it out at one point in the driveway. She said, my taillight, look at my taillight. And I looked at it and I said, you told me you don't remember anything from last night. She said, do you think I hit him? Do you think I hit him? And I said, no, I don't think you hit him. I think you probably hit something, but let's just go in the house and look for him.
And so as far as your recollection is concerned, that sort of interaction that you had or looking at the taillight, when did that happen?
I don't know if it was when, well, it obviously wasn't when we got there. It was what must have been when we were leaving to go out to look for him.
When you what? I'm sorry.
I wasn't sure if it was when we arrived or when we were leaving to go back out and look for him, but now that I've seen the video, it's obviously when we came back out of the house.
Okay.
And who was present for that?
Who was present?
Yes.
Jen McCabe, Karen Reed, and myself.
And as far as where Ms. McCabe parked that vehicle, at any point in time that you were at the house, did that vehicle move at all? And by that vehicle, I mean Ms. Reed's vehicle.
I don't think so.
So where it's parked in that video is essentially where it stayed as far as you know.
I believe so.
Now, with reference to those observations or when you were looking at the rear passenger taillight area of Ms. Reed's vehicle, how close to the vehicle were you when you were making those observations?
Right in front of it. There was one piece, like a rectangle encapsulated, like whatever was broken. I remember there was one piece of metal sort of sticking out. So if it was an encasement for a light of some sort, I remember looking at it and the piece was sort of sticking out and I thought someone's going to catch their sleeve on that or something.
Now that I've seen it a couple of times, I've caught something else that happened. The Commonwealth prosecutor played the ring camera before he asked the questions. And did you catch what she let slip? She said she thought she had looked at the taillight when they arrived, but after seeing the ring cam, it must have been when they were leaving. Why is this important? Because the defense for Karen Reed was able to confirm that Jen McCabe and Carrie Roberts went over their timelines together before they were ever questioned by law enforcement. So the Commonwealth prosecutor was able to clean up the timeline through Carrie Roberts' testimony instead of relying on her memory as he did with Jen McCabe. He played the clip first, so she wasn't caught out like Jen McCabe was. So we've got two very different accounts. Carrie Roberts' account was that when they were looking at the taillight, it wasn't as chaotic. Jen McCabe's account was that I think she embellished her account, to be fair, saying that she could not see the taillight because of the snow. So which one is true? One saw a lot and the other one hardly saw anything. So that's a bit worrying. The other worrying issue I had was that Jen McCabe said, she even detailed it more, saying that Carrie Roberts rushed them in the house. So that was completely different and didn't match up with the ring camera. Jen McCabe also embellished the story of when Karen first called her, and she said that Karen told her that her and John O'Keefe had a fight. Given the number of deception indicators, I'm not sure that Karen Reed had said that. It also appears like Jen McCabe is stretching the truth, or to insinuate, I should say, that Karen Reed is guilty of something. Whereas Carrie Roberts, when she tells her account, it's more like Karen Reed was worried about everything. Why would Jen McCabe be stretching the truth? The Paul Ekman Group did a study, and the reason why people deceive or mislead us with the truth is they want to avoid punishment, or they are protecting someone else. Because if the lie is discovered, that person could lose their freedom, their job, their reputation, or their life. I think these reasons for lying fits in nicely with Karen Reed's defense team's theory that John O'Keefe was beaten up by someone in the house. You see, John O'Keefe was a police officer at another police officer's house, who Jan McCabe's sister is married to. His name is Brian Albert, the homeowner, where John O'Keefe was found unresponsive on their lawn and later died. Why did these witnesses all avoid saying Colin Albert was even at the party? The defense was able to establish that Colin Albert had a bit of a temper when he drank. Why did Jen McCabe's daughter suddenly produce text evidence that she collected Colin Albert? And she also says that she collected Colin Albert, gave him a ride home before John O'Keefe even got there. I did a video on this where you can judge for yourself. Is her text evidence fabricated? Yeah, go to my playlist and watch. Let me know what you think. The other issue I have is that Colin Albert's parents also told, I don't know if it's a lie, but it certainly was deceiving about what time they got home and when they say Colin got home. And there was a video cam of when they left, and there is a bit of discrepancy there. So why would they lie about it? Who are these people protecting? In my opinion, Jen McCabe's testimony has signs of deception. I see this all the time in hearings where a witness will give testimony that has truth mixed in with their agenda. So, what do you think? Do we have a bit of liar, liar, pants on fire? Is Jen McCabe stretching the truth? And we're only halfway through the Commonwealth's witnesses, so there's a fair way to go. When a jury hears conflicting evidence, they get to decide the credibility. They can disregard some of it, all of it, or none of it. They get to decide if Jen McCabe was more credible or less credible than Carrie Roberts. And if witnesses give false testimony because they have an agenda, we run the risk of an innocent person being found guilty and sent to prison for a crime they did not commit. So establishing the truth is essential to justice. It is essential for the victims and their families. By leaving a comment, you may help someone else that will read your comment. And of course, I love to read all comments as they are valued, and together we can be more informed. And this information may help you or someone you know. In the meantime, on this channel, you'll find a variety of playlists to suit every curiosity about the justice system. And we provide you with a visual to information and the process. Going through a legal worry is devastating, and the Who Knew and Why Me playlists are designed to help you or someone you know. So please like this video if you like this kind of content. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you want to be notified when I'm going live or upload another video. I'm Karen Cole from Legal Minded Friends. Information is power, meaning if you know something, you can make decisions that are right for you.